resources, and you know, and yet there was this new breath of, you know, we're not a nanny state. So the drug war is you know, we're going to question the drug war, as opposed to Bush accentuating the drug war. So the difference is a reforming of the Republican Party with this Tea Party. Now they've tried to put Palin into it and take, you know, somebody less palatable like Ron Paul out. But I saw the show on the internet where it's Judge Napolitano, who I have a lot of respect for on Fox Business, and he and Rand Paul are lecturing, you know, Sarah Palin, and she capitulates on cannabis. Now this is the THC hour here, and next week we got to just stick with cannabis. But I know you want to talk me up on a lot of issues because, you know, I have a lot of knowledge and other, and you know, because I'm fairly well read, and so, you know, here's the thing. You know, it's communism is not what capitalism in America is not real capitalism in a paleo sense anymore. It's crony capitalism now. And they've cut a deal with the slave capitalists, which is China, you know, and they working together now to control the world. To me, this is what I call the New World Order. And that goes to 1980 with the third genocide of Cambodia, which I've mentioned on your show before, and I probably will again. And I think, you know, for your listeners, that would pique their interest a little bit, because there is a secret agreement between China and the United States. And it's they keep feeding money to America, and America keeps going around the world and being the bully, not China. China has its own way to control its part of the world over here, like in Cambodia. They come down here with big kind of money and spread it around. They got big control in this country and all throughout, you know. So America is not the great power that it thinks it is anymore, but when, you know, when it comes to maybe push comes to shove with the military, well then, okay, they still got a lot of power. And then also, you know, they got a lot of money still. So you got to always, in the media, make them feel in the media that they're the boss.
Okay, let me touch on something. This is THC Wednesdays, and I've talked about the drug war being really a war on the American people, the same way that the war on terror is a war against anybody anywhere in the world that doesn't want to go along with one world government.
Okay, that goes to your Vietnam. Your question was about Vietnam, and then there was the bombing by Nixon and
Yes.
Kissinger of Cambodia. And these are the same guys that gave us the drug war. Okay, they took Anslinger and they put it on steroids, and then Ronald Reagan came and put it on super steroids, and it just continued to go up. And Obama is the worst. There's more SWAT arrests under Obama. He set every kind of record. It's all about jobs. It's not. Listen, when he was at Pittsburgh and when he was in Toronto, and they got the black-clad police out there where they're anonymous, there's no badge number, there's no way to identify them with a camera, and you have a camera and they beat you to the ground for having a camera, they put you in a cage, and if you're a woman they finger fuck you, and then they call that, and then he doesn't say anything about that, and he's a black man who got to his position by the street protests of the 60s. Now the street protests in 2010, you know, then those street protests, we got iron, you know, these guys are like in black clad anonymous, and they're beating people to the ground and nobody can say anything about it. We're talking about mainstream media and nobody cares. That's why I'm
now the drug
people laugh at me. I know, and anything could happen here too. And we had this thing, look what happens with people in the street here. They're panicking over a joyful festival, and they panic and they're climbing over each other, and the children and the babies get killed. But this isn't the police beating them down. The police were picking them up and carrying on. We got in America, they beat you to the ground now. That's the kind of society it's turned into. Look at the whole TSA thing. 5-year-old boys, and they're checking the crotch of a 5-year-old boy. And a nun. And there's a woman with a burqa down there on her hands and knees groping a nun in the crotch. I mean, it's absolutely insane. America has lost its mind. It's just nuts. They're nuts. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I don't know how
Now,
to put it any more
James
succinctly to you.
Forrest, he would disagree with you. Of course, that's why they threw him out of the 10th floor of the Bethesda Naval Hospital. He says they don't, they're not stupid. If they were just stupid, occasionally they'd make a mistake in our favor.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. I mean, I don't want to say that I'm the super fan of Alex Jones, but I do listen to him occasionally now, and I've told you that he's Bill Hicks's, sort of like his bastard child, and his sense of humor and the way, and it's not even Bill Hicks used to make it funny. Alex Jones just makes it entertaining, and he calls people names and this and that, and it's not the right thing to do if you're a Christian, but it's very effective if you're trying to build listenership. And I listen to him. I don't agree with everything he says, and you're in that same league. We got big problems coming out of the United States. We had for a long time now. And I don't think Cambodia is too interested anymore with what America has to say too much, except vis-a-vis now Thailand. They have their little things with Thailand and Vietnam. So, Vietnam, for instance, two of my scholar friends just left today for Vietnam for vacationing. It's a wonderful place to go on vacation, as is Cambodia. It's not that Thailand's bad, but Thailand's become rather expensive. And they're extremely Western now in Thailand, more than they've ever been. So if you want more of an Asian flavor to your vacation, you would come to Cambodia and Vietnam and to Laos. And those three countries are much more liberal too on, believe it or not, Vietnam is maybe a little bit more liberal on smoking pot than even Thailand is. Given the history of Thai stick, and one of our guests is going to tell us about that.
Yeah, I
smuggling
always
Thai stick back in
I loved
70s.
I loved to get I loved Thai sticks. They were a lot of fun. But it's kind of interesting. I did the Breakfast Club this last week, and I said, well, there's cause to celebrate. There's cause to celebrate here. For the first time in 40 years, I may not be a criminal. They passed medical marijuana here.
Listen, you are not going to be a criminal with cannabis. With your conditions already. Paul Stanford will be on the 22nd, which is in 3 weeks, I believe, maybe 4 weeks from today, and he is going to be one of the lead, companies, like he is in every state, with doctors and offices and people going to get their medical script and helping them to find their medical cannabis. And this is going to open up a burgeoning new industry in your state. It's just the way it is. And
I would like to get
be
the free American.
I would like to get first in line, Clay.
I would like to get
your brain injury, cannabis is just ideal for for maintaining neuro health and all. Listen, it's just a wonderful medicine. That's why in India everybody has to drink it every year for the festivals. And you got to drink it. It's part of the religion, and it just turns out to be such a miracle medicine. Everybody needs a big boost from medicine.
When I walked out of the hospital, they gave me a prescription for Depakote. I refused to take it. I read the contraindications, and I told them the only thing I need is a joint and a Harley. Otherwise, leave me alone. I'm not taking anything else.
And of course they looked at you like a crazy biker, kind of, and then they went back to their pill pushing, and so people are getting enlightened about this, Clayton. I mean, at that time, people that would say things like that were people like yourself, a biker, an outlaw, somebody that really thinks differently than the average person. So you're like a kook, you're like a fruits and the nuts and this and that. But the idea of challenging the pill pushers and the pharmaceutical companies is becoming much more mainstream. And it's just a basis of education. And people, there's been a long history. I've been smoking pot for 40 years now, and a lot of people know about medical marijuana now. And so the government's going to have to relent. It's just every time they just keep playing this